welcome to another episode of Spotlight. So today we have from eastern part of the country, Samrendra Mishra, who is the founder and also co-founder of one of the largest poultry farm or automated poultry farm in India. And he's based in Bolangir in Odisha. Welcome to the show, Samrendra.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nirmalya. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. So, so as I said, would like to you have got into entrepreneurship quite early in life. Let's say initial 2 years of your job career, then you jumped into entrepreneurship. Correct. So now it's close
Yes.
to what? Close to 30 years.
It would be around 25 years.
25 years. Okay. So 25 years, and I understand you were one of the first entrepreneur in your family. Your family is a legal family. So how did this entrepreneur bug bite you?
This was not easy, and this was not planned. It just happened. So I was like everybody back then. I also thought I would get some white collar job and get a good high flying corporate job. But that was never meant to be. And around the time I was like running around the bylanes of Delhi for cold calling and all. My brother was starting up this farm business, and I happened to return during a holiday or something back home, and I that was the first time I saw a chicken farm actually. Before that, I had never been to one. That was sort of a backyard farm that he was doing. And he was like, what are you up to and why are you slogging it out in Delhi? Come join, we'll do this. So that is how I got into this
Okay, so
business.
by brotherly love or brotherly pull, as we can call it. Okay, so having done 25 years, if we sort of break it down in, let's say, every 5 years or sort of thing, will you be able to tell us your journey of 25 years in short snippets?
So yes, the initial period, let's say, was um, more of a trial and error stuff. It was not serious business. So we were not very sure what we were up to. We were not very clear. It was just one of those things that people see. Not everybody wanted to get into business by choice around them. So the first priority was to get a good job, and that is what most of our families wanted us to do. So when he started, and the talk in my family, especially from my mom, was like, you got into this business and you also brought him in. He was already doing some job, getting salary, and you are like creating uncertainty. Then there was a thought of taking loans, putting your house and all those stuff in mortgage. And what happens if you cannot repay? Will be on the streets. Those kind of thoughts were creeping into our heads. And it was more of a trial and error. We were kind of exploring the possibilities, what the industry was. We were unaware of much things. There was no research done, nothing actually. Then after we got some grip on the business, it was like more of a survival thing.
Okay.
So when you had to like survive the business, and I think every business goes through a near-death situation at least once or twice in their life cycle. So some of them have like very early on, you have a near-death situation. So probably those who survived the second one thrive. So we also went through that. And in the initial stage itself, our loan actually got into default, thankfully. And it default as in if you cannot pay one bank installment, it was like a terrible thing. And so a little delay was putting such immense pressure on us that It was very scary. So after those initial days, we learned that okay, you cannot take every loan that is offered to you. So you cannot believe the first loan that we took was actually we were paying 18% interest.
18% in those days.
So that is already a recipe for failure, right? So we realized that no, you just cannot take any money that comes your way, and you have to be more prudent. And there are ways and means to get better access to capital. So we then moved out of the cooperative bank and got into a nationalized bank, and that is where things changed. That was the stage when it was getting little formalized. So yeah, so getting into on board with
18%, if I'm not wrong, in a community business, eggs are commodity ultimately. So that moment of time, you need to earn at least 30% to survive, correct? In gross.
Yes. So that in itself, I mean, what would you do to, maybe all that you can do is to earn money for the bank to pay their interest. So then the second phase was more of refinement, getting a little formalized. But still, we were doing very conventional business. That was the stage when we thought, okay, we can continue with the business. This is something that has some potential. Then we started thinking of expanding. So once you know the business, you start understanding how it works and all. We had the confidence that yes, this is something that can be done, and we probably can do it. That was the stage when we started. That was somewhere around post 2000. So that is when actually this over farm got into picture. So over farm was incorporated in 2002, and from then it was an expansion phase. We kind of started adding up capacity and started expanding. The next phase was somewhere around 2010 when we shifted from the conventional farming to what we are doing now. Was the shift to more modern high-tech farming. But that was also very challenging because many other farms prior to us had actually tried and failed. So it's not just about getting the equipment. So we also actually got the equipment and put up a farm and went through terrible times because we had we lacked the skill set to run those
the software, the mindware.
Yes, it was lacking. So which is when we realized that it's not just about the investment, it's the more needs to get into the investment in plant and machinery, let's say, the more needs to invested in your people. Until then, it was like one-man show, right? So it was only the promoters of the business. That is the transition phase. So any business, any entrepreneur, when in the conventional form, they are owner managers.
Correct.
So the founder is doing everything from sales to production to accounting, everything. We were doing everything. So that was the time when we shifted gear and we started investing in people. So, and that is actually one of the toughest tasks because when you are migrating, when you are, it's a change process that you are going through. And the first thing that happens is the sense of lack of control. So suddenly something that you were doing and you are a perfectionist and you may not like the way others are doing it, right? It's your baby. Somebody else is handling it and you are never confident of it. But you have to act. Yes.
Art of delegation.
And many a times, so what happens is even if you are doing it, you have to make the other person feel that she is the one who is actually doing it. And many a times, even if they are doing something wrong, you have to hold your breath and hope that it ends up well. So
Mhm.
because you don't want to micromanage things and you want to give them the freedom.
Mhm.
So there have been instances where we have gone through severe losses because everything was new, even things were alien to us. It's something that you see somewhere and start implementing. It doesn't work overnight.
Correct.
So that was the most challenging part because by then the survival was not an issue.
Mhm.
So the biggest challenge around that time was moving from the owner manager role to start delegating people and getting the specialists for the role, and also to prepare them, to train them.
You started with what, 5,000 birds?
5,000 was the earlier avatar. That was when my brother was doing it.
Okay.
But when Ovo started, it was a 50,000 farm that Ovo came up with.
And today you have a 1 million.
Yes, we have a 1 million capacity.
Fantastic journey on that part. Okay, so we have looked back. Also, when you look back, what was your market like? Because Odisha, you are in the western part of Odisha, which is where seems to be a little more underdeveloped markets and all the things. So how did you discover market, or what are the things you sort of did to sort of create a new market for yourself?
So initially, Odisha was a deficit state. All the eggs were coming from Andhra.
Okay. Okay.
So it was dominated by the traders. The first thing we did was started doing the trading ourselves.
Okay.
So see, if you invest so much in setting up some industry or a farm or whatever, until you have control over the distribution,
Correct.
you will be exploited. That's the problem with farmers. So the first thing that we worked on was having our own distribution.
Okay. And you distributed your own production as well as you sort of procure from Andhra and distributed, correct? Is that so?
There have been times, yes.
Okay.
So when we started this, we were not very sure. We were not expecting it to actually explode the way it did. So there were times when we started buying. So there would be a transition period between an expansion. So we started procuring and then sell, and maybe in a year time we have our own production.
Okay. And okay. So now in this journey of 25 years, what are the key things which satisfied you most?
The most satisfying thing is to see people evolving. There are some people with us who actually we started together. We learned everything together, and there were people from the bottom of the socioeconomic strata. And now when we see them growing and are masters of their domain, and at the same time they've grown with the company, that is most satisfying. Okay.
What else?
So you doing well is one thing, and you help somebody else grow along with you is another thing. I think that's the most important part of entrepreneurship.
Correct. Entrepreneurship is not just all about the solo. It's all about the team and the people. What else? So what's the total number of people you have today?
So we have somewhere around 250 to 300 people working for us, depending on the workload.
Okay. So, okay. Of this, a little part-time and little part of them are full-time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In this journey, I know that time the media was not so much evolved and all this thing. Still, do you have any role models whom you follow, or both of you?
So, when it started, there was only one dominant player, which was Venkateswara Hatcheries.
Correct.
So they had a business unit here called Eastern Hatcheries, and the managing director who was heading the business here, he was actually very inspiring. We learned a lot from him because he was a doyen of the industry, and you need those kind of people to develop industry out of nothing. Because back then, the whole state, there was no poultry farming happening around here. And when they come to a place like this and start developing the business, the market itself, a lot goes into that. So we did get a lot of help from it.
And of course, I think because that era, entrepreneurship or so-called business was not so much of a in thing or not so much of glamorous thing to do. So definitely was somebody who handholding you gives you a lot of that strength to sort of overcome the challenges. Okay, so you said technology, people was your biggest challenge in terms of transition part of it. So how did you now look at the market of so-called agri-product, because now so much of things are flown, some structure is there in the market, number of players have gone up. So how do you, what are your steps or what are the things you have been doing now to differentiate yourself?
So it all changed actually after COVID. Before that, we were already trying to kind of create a brand out of the commodity, because that's where we realized that in order to maximize your profitability or to have a steadier sale, you would need to be a brand rather than a commodity. Because something like egg is like it fluctuates a lot. The rates go up and down every day. Then you have the seasonal variations. But when it becomes a product, the volatility is much less. So we identified around 2017-18 that we need to create a brand, because this is also the case elsewhere in the world, in the more mature developed markets, all the supermarkets. And around that time, a lot of this modern trade business was taking shape, and we realized that if we going forward, this is the way to do it. So but post COVID, there was a sudden surge. Nobody expected it. The home deliveries, the online deliveries and all, everything, like if we were doing 100, then suddenly it became 1,000. So there was a big surge. Yes. So there was a lot of concern about hygiene, about food safeties. A lot of things happened around that time. So like we all agree that now we are in a pre-COVID or post-COVID era. Before COVID, I never heard of this Zoom thing. Okay, so probably you would call me to Delhi or you come down over here for an interview like this. We were not very familiar with this, right? So now it is a norm. So prior to that, there was little activity, very little activity, let's say, in the this segment. But post-COVID, it has surged, and it has helped that we were already into it, and we were able to maximize on the opportunity that came by.
In terms of now, you expanded market also, Eastern India's. You've been to in Kolkata, beyond the Odisha borders. You've gone to any other markets also?
Yes, we have. We are present in Vizag, and now we are entering Assam as well.
Oh, okay.
Beyond that, we got into exports, and I'm happy to share that recently one of our consignments reached Qatar. There was a surge in demand for the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
one. Congrats on getting your egg to an international show, part of it. Okay, now looking at team, you have teams in place, process in place, you have more modern farm with all the so-called, what are the next level of challenges or next level of things you are planning at, or challenges you are trying to think overcoming?
So going forward, we are betting big on D2C.
Okay.
So there was this stage when we had to overcome the trade. right?
Mm.
And then we started our own distribution setup and all.
Mm.
And recently, we are doing business with a lot of modern trade
Okay.
NMT chains and all.
Mm.
So now we are going forward, looking at getting into D2C sales. So we're looking at app-based sales and through our own outlets and all that.
Okay. So you created your own outlets also? Is that retail expansion happening?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Where all?
So the first one is expected in January.
Okay. Okay. First one is expected in January. So this will be only the eggs outlet, or of course any other complementary or supplementary product?
We are eccentric.
Okay. Eccentric.
So
Okay.
whatever we do, it is only around egg only.
Okay.
So I expect that to be centered around egg,
Hmm.
whatever it would be.
Because also the next revolution, let's say, post the IT revolution, they say is biotechnology or food tech is the next revolution which is going to happen. So what all new, being eccentric also, what all new we plan?
So the thing is that we think that the retail chains are not doing justice to egg.
Okay.
Egg is a boring thing.
Mm.
It's the most boring part of any outlet.
Mm.
They are not stored properly. They
Mm.
are not you don't find good visibility. It
Mm.
would be pushed into some corner,
Mm.
and there's no excitement. So if you look at milk,
Mm.
if you compare, let's say, milk and egg
Both are
at a
competitive,
pan
both
India
are
level.
correct.
Yeah, so milk, Mother Dairy, milk booths, you know how, you get into any retail store and see what VIP treatment the milk would get. But egg is such a nutrition powerhouse, and we think there is gross injustice being done to eggs. So we want to change that.
Okay, so that's
So
more of
one
the
of the
mindset.
challenges, yes. So one of the challenges we find here is there is lack of transparency and belief so far as eggs are concerned. So as of now, the eggs that are being sold in the market, nobody knows when they were produced. You don't. The government of India doesn't mandate printing of the expiry date on it. The first thing we did when we got into branded egg was to print the expiry date on eggs. So that's the first step we took, which was a very bold step, because you would have a lot of returns when the moment you put the best before date. What others are doing is very different. So having
was there the industry backlash?
Not really, but we did bleed a lot because of that.
Okay.
And because that has to be backed with very robust supply chain and operations. So there has been a lot of learning in the background. So it's like you throw a challenge onto yourself and kind of start working out in the background. In order to bring in the transparency and accountability, we are now working on a very exciting project where we would be using blockchain technology for the supply chain. So that would provide the visibility, and the traceability of eggs. Okay.
So first is the expiry date innovation you did as a. Then second is the whole taste and origin part of it. So you will be tracing them to the exact bird or bird cage. Exactly. Is that so?
That is possible, but that would be done in a phased manner.
Okay. Okay. Because milk industry also, I understand, is also going through that level of changes also. Certain brands like Nestle and all, when they procure milk, they have a very high traceability back to the animal. When animal is sick also, they don't collect milk, that sort of standards they've established. So moving forward, previously National Egg Coordination Committee, NACC, used to be very, very strong and very, very part of it. What has happened to that because we all remember the Sunday or Monday promotion campaigns on eggs by NACC. now we don't see anything happening at the industry level.
No, it is very much there. They have been I believe NECC has been the backbone of the egg industry in India. Without a body like that, there would be no pricing mechanism.
Okay. Okay.
It's a different thing that there are a lot of challenges in getting the pricing done at the pan-India level. But NECC is, I think, doing a fair job so far as having a pricing mechanism in place. The other responsibility of NECC is to promote the consumption of it, right? So there have been new campaigns. I am not sure if you have seen the one with cricketers, the little girl.
Yeah.
That is the newest campaign. But I believe everybody liked the Sunday or Monday. That's the thing that everybody remembers.
Women aged.
Yes.
As a campaign part of it.
Yes.
Okay. So any expansion plan beyond the Eastern India market?
So now we are more focused on value addition than capacity expansion. We believe that's where the cream lies, and we want to build a very robust integrated business. So we'll go on adding capacity only after we have the complete control over distribution and have a good what do you say when we enter all the kitchens, all households.
So as now you have done this 25 years journey and all, what will you be giving advice to, let's say, a young entrepreneur who will wish to get into, let's say, the poultry industry now?
Poultry industry is very challenging industry. It's a very fragmented and it's very different, let's say, from dairy industry. So dairy is a darling, but egg industry, every now and then you hear rumors about plastic eggs and stuff like that. So there's, if producing plastic eggs would be way more expensive than producing natural eggs, I would say. But somehow or other, it catches people's imagination, right? So it's a very challenging industry, but coming here, you have to be, it's not a corporate setup you can think of. So you need to have the mindset of a farmer. So you have to play both roles, right? So we have a farm side and we have the FMCG side, working in the same company. So there is no much glamour, I would say, but there's a lot of you need to be prepared for getting your hands dirty.
Okay, that's the first advice. Prepare to get your hands dirty, of course. And what else?
Then anyone who enters this industry, I think, would require some staying power and need to go through the volatility that the market goes through, because there would be a year where the industry goes through huge losses. Let's say this year, the feed prices went over the roof because of Ukraine war or a lot of other macro factors, right? So these are the years when the one irony is then on those years when the feed prices are high, even the egg prices go low. So yes, so one would need a lot of patience and time to overcome those periods of volatility. But it is always followed up with a good year. So if you can stay there,
it's cyclical.
Yes.
Okay, next thing is, did you see any new startups which are actually taking off from the egg industry or egg-related products, food startups, or ready-to-eat products, which are derivative of egg?
So yes, we have heard about Egoj, who got funded. But the fundamental thing that difference that I see with that model of business is they are not into farming.
Procurement and
Yes. So there's a big question of quality control and all that. Besides getting into the product stage, I think in the domestic market is not matured enough as yet
okay.
for the products. That is that those the egg products that you will find. Let's say Japan has a lot of those kind of stuff. But India market is not yet mature. But I see a lot of activity in snack food and a lot of small startups have come up. I'm sure in a few years from now there would be some opening there, and we are definitely looking at that.
Okay. So because there's this whole opportunity in the streets of Delhi, I think you might have also seen, especially in the winter time also, near every bus stand or every near metro station, you get this andawala who is selling hot boiled eggs, which is selling by the dozens. He definitely, and there is now also it has evolved to more of a egg omelette, and everything has sort of come in also. So on the retailing side of such egg products also, I didn't see any movement. Although Momo, which is a relatively a foreign food, has taken so much traction. So is there anything which is there on the so-called forward integration in your mind?
Yes, it is very much there, but the market needs to evolve a bit. Besides, apart from market and acceptability of those products, you also have the issues of supply chain, the logistics and all.
Okay.
So I think that is also one area which is evolving. Maybe a few years down the line, when we have a better logistics supply chain, then these kind of products will be more viable.
Okay. Because now the logistic industry is evolving with the D2C revolution which is happening. Things are more so with the Zepto's 10-minute delivery channel.
Yes.
So those things are evolving and things are moving in. Okay, so coming to the last few sections, so I'll give you a little quick fire round of questions. So let me see what your response are. Okay. First quick fire, money or peace?
Peace.
Okay. Fast or steady?
Steady.
Okay. Today or tomorrow?
Today.
Okay. Network or net worth?
Network. Network can bring your net worth.
Okay. Passion or paisa?
Passion, of course. Passion will bring paisa.
Okay. Though Eggman is saying paisa, that means the chick story is going strong. Chick. We'll sort of thank everyone and thanks Samrendra for joining us today for this whole wonderful chat, and which is completely from a different industry. We either to the whole startup world doesn't speak about the agro industry, the food industry, which is amalgamation. So thanks Samrendra for joining in. And to the viewers, I'll sort of remind you that Entrepreneurs Media is holding the first ever startup summit on 16th of December. Do check out the Entrepreneurs Media website for the details of the summit, and you can join in also. There will be a host of investors and startup founders and everybody out there. And I will also be speaking at that summit on brand and study part of it. So thanks, Samrendra. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you, Nirmalya. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Bye.